Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology, and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
All right, I promised myself I wasn't going to start ranting and raving straight away, but if we'd been living under a rock for the past week, obviously, the world's media has been captivated by the story of the Titan submersible, and its catastrophic implosion on its way down to the Titanic, to sort of check that out. And now, a full disclaimer at the top of the story here: I'm not by any means saying that this is not a tragedy and that it's not something that it warrants all the investigations it needs to, because obviously it would seem that certain precautions and certifications weren't done, and it was like an accident waiting to happen kind of situation. So it is all very serious. And to be honest, Steve, I'm not going to cover this again, because there's about 1,000,000,001 videos, everyone can go and check out if they want the up-to-latest details about what that is. Where I'm losing patience with this, and I think we've alluded to this in previous topics as well, as the media using it as a piece of entertainment narrative to, engage the audience. And where it really was reminded for me was I was watching a clip of former President Obama doing an interview. He's in Athens or something at the moment, doing something to do with promoting democracy or something. There's some sort of convention or conference going on there. And he sat down for an interview, and there was one little bit in the interview where he was talking about the fixation on certain things, and I guess it was done in the tone of he was talking about inequality and that sort of thing, economic inequality in Western democracies. But he kind of then highlighted the Titan submersible story, and was saying that it's interesting that there's this hyper focus by all the media on this particular story, where just the same week, just down, as he said, just down the road from where they were doing the interview, 700 people died in an accident that as they were trying to emigrate over from I can't remember where it was from, into Greece. All those people had died, and he said, yeah, it got a little coverage, but then it was straight back to the submersible. And this is the part where I don't know what how you feel about this, but it's just making me even less enchanted, less engaged, less sympathetic towards the media in general, when they're so obviously not doing news, they're doing entertainment.
Yeah, I can't say I feel any differently to you, Ben. I mean, look, the sub story is a tragedy. There are real people on there who went down. Whatever you say, they wanted to go and look at the wreck of the Titanic close up. They wanted to do something very exciting. They wanted to do something that hardly anybody can do or ever gets the opportunity to do. It's not really an issue of safety. Maybe it could have been better, but these were adventurers, true adventurers, and maybe not everyone was fully educated on the risks, but they went and did something. It went wrong, and obviously it had tragic consequences. But for that matter, people driving home on the roads may encounter a similar tragedy, and you could be a migrant desperate to get away from, a very difficult situation, and you make a choice, and that ends up tragically as well. I do think that it's always been this way, but I think social media and modern media has really skewed it now. And so, stories like this basically bank on entertainment value. Migrants tragically drowning like that is an all too frequent occurrence that, sort of just warrants a mention purely because of the numbers. And when you've got a situation where no one knows where a sub with 5 people on board is, but you can spin the story that they've got 90 hours and think that that's an angle when really there was no hope of a rescue, even if the sub hadn't imploded. I just thought it was very lazy and very simple.
Yeah, and I think the takeaway is that it's it's in this sort of social media driven environment that we're in, that it's for lack of a better term, clickbaitable. So it's easy to go and spread it around. People pick it up in their feeds, and it's sort of easy to digest. Just to obviously they did all the hokey thing. Well, he does have an opinion on it, obviously, because he's in that James Cameron I saw came out and was being interviewed as probably the most high profile, well known sort of deep dive submersible person that probably the wider public knows, and they went straight to him for comment. I thought it was interesting that the clip from Titanic where one of the characters in Submersible literally explains what happens if there's a dent in the glass or something, and it's all over in less than 2 microseconds, and that's actually in the film from '97 that Cameron did himself, and that was kind of explained, and now that's going viral. And again, is it that whole viral nature of it? It's easy to spread around. It's easy to engage. It's kind of I guess I want to just highlight that there's kind of that sort of cynical engagement kind of thing that's happening, and you throw in the algorithm as well, and all of that sort of thing, and then you get, I guess what I'm asking is this is what is passing for news now?
Well, I actually think the algorithm drives it. I'm not even sure if people really engage with the topics, but when it's the only topic, or the topic continually appears in your feed, if it shows up 5 times, you're bound to click on it once. At least you're going to want to know, well, what is this story, and try and find some information. And as soon as you do, you're one of the billion, and that's what pushes this then to the top. It's outrageous. I mean, I think, with everyone worried about AI, I think this is actually the area that the algorithms that are running media now are just, they're out of control.
And it kind of leads to a situation where you wonder, do we have a choice in what we're actually watching? Which kind of leads me into the sort of side topic now about the idea that this sort of lost meaning in a lot of the pop culture and entertainment that we have, that this might be, and I know that this is a bit more of a lighter topic compared to what we were just talking about, but it's kind of a symptom of that algorithmic choice or lack of choice that we might have, in that the content that is being produced now, like as a point of comparison, 50 years ago, there would be genuine, deep debated arguments amongst people about, in music, who the best guitarist was of their generation, or best musician, best, singing artist, or whatever. Same types of arguments were being made about films, for instance. There were times when you'd walk out of the cinema with a group of friends and you'd be discussing the meaning of what you just saw for hours, afterwards, even days afterwards, if it was a particularly impactful film. And yet all of that stuff, and again, I think this is subject to, what's happening with algorithmic feeds and social media, and maybe just an overload of content in general, has hollowed all of that out, and it's now all kind of disposable, and nothing kind of registers. And it kind of, to me, it's quite sad in a way. It's like, a comparison would be like, we used to be able to go to a restaurant, and you might even remember that meal 10 years later because of how impressed you were about the meal itself, the experience, who you were with. You'll talk about it and recall the memory. Yet now, all of these things are a bit like, going to McDonald's. We've all been, 16,000 times in our lives, but we don't even really remember any individual instance where it stood out. And that's kind of sad, really, that it's kind of gone down that route.
Oh, look, it's tragic. And, you think about 50 years of contemporary culture. So films, it used to be all about the story, and then you'd have a great cast that could tell that story, and a great director as well. Now it's just about who's directed it or who's in it. Don't even worry about the story. And if you go and see a movie, you might be lucky enough to see a film where somebody actually thought about a story or some meaning, greater meaning, rather than just some action. And music's gone the same way, from artistry, from talent, from ability to sing or play an instrument and write tunes through now to just something else that's wonderful. Auto tune sweetens it all up. And don't worry about it too much, because there'll be another one later just like it. And I think we've become very disposable in every aspect, but particularly culturally, and that's very sad, as well. And I think we see it now in what interests us. And once again, I do think it's the algorithms that are doing this. We judge celebrity now by wealth, by status in terms of popularity, and it could be hits or it could be influence. They're all metrics for this now, but nobody ever rates celebrity on talent anymore. And I think that's critical.
Absolutely. And it kind of, I think that kind of plays out in, from what I've heard, like with younger generations coming through, that there's kind of a revolt. Not a revolt is a strong word, but a turn against the culture of celebrity in a lot of ways. Yes, there's still a lot of that will follow celebrities, but then there's also an equal amount that find the whole thing kind of revolting, and particularly in an age where I guess it's not as well looked upon if you're rich and famous compared to, say, how it might have been in the 70s or 80s or something like that, where it was very clearly looked up to.
Yeah, well, I guess, it's interesting if younger generations are feeling like that, but the only way to escape it is to put down your phone. Otherwise you're going to be bombed by whatever the algorithms are telling you. And those algorithms are global, they're huge numbers, and they drive what everybody sees. And, by demographic, that may be targeted as well. But it's, I'm not even sure that a lot of people are engaging with a lot of the content. But I don't think they ever did. And that's one of the great frauds of social media right from its inception.
Absolutely. I guess to tie it all together, because as much as all of those stories that we've talked about today are different, in terms of their severity, shall we say, they are kind of underpinning an overall kind of problem, I guess, that we're facing. And I guess on the one hand, we'd have to be careful about what these algorithms are feeding us and where the direction that they're sending us down. But I'm also wondering if there's going to be, at some points, how there's always a reaction to things over time, and I have to wonder whether or not at some point whether enough of us might just cut it all off, in the sense of not using social media, streaming less, engaging with less content, purely because it gets to a point where it's I'm not saying everyone would do that, but enough people would do it that it would be a significant enough movement away from where it's going.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, the internet was meant to bring democratization to, access or voice or whatever. It hasn't done that. It's moved past that. But, I liken this to the old days where when petrol used to go up, everyone used to say, well, we should just go on a petrol strike and walk everywhere for a month. And, well, a few of us might have done that. And I can see the same thing happening with basically the socials and our tether to a digital online world. I think it's very difficult to put the genie back in the bottle now. And it would be great. I'd love to see everyone do, an Earth week and put their phones away. But because the world would be like taking away fossil fuels. It would struggle. The internet would collapse.
It's the old cliche, remove the phone and then, everyone like collapses on the floor having fits or whatever. What did they do before all these phones came in?
That's right. It's the bottom Jenga block.
Exactly. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. A little bit dire, I know. I guess we focused on the cultural aspect of SciTech culture today, but it is important to highlight some of these things. And maybe at the end of the day, it just comes down to what each personal choice we all make about improving, our relationship with these technologies. And, I guess maybe making it where you can, better choices about what you're consuming.
I think that's really important. I think, we still need to be thoughtful about the content we consume, and I think we need to be discerning in that as well. And as long as we can maintain that, nobody's saying you shouldn't follow these stories or click on clickbait, but, you've got to keep your mind somewhere in the picture. Don't let an algorithm tell you what to think.
Absolutely. All right. So that's it for our episode today. So don't forget to check out our website, scitechculture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can subscribe to our YouTube and Vimeo channels, our RSS feeds, and watch us on any and all of your devices. And we greatly appreciate your visits to our website. And I appreciate the irony there based on everything with that that we've just been talking about. So we'll try and keep you as informed as possible. All right. So that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.